Well, hey everybody, and welcome to the Meno Lounge. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of Bossa Bars Menopause Energy Bars, and we have a very special show today. We're launching our brand new series here during the lead up to Mother's Day called Mothers and Daughters from Period to Pause. I am so excited. Before I bring up our guest today, my first victim, our guest, I just wanted to share with you, we launched a brand new variety pack for you. So 2 double chocolate, 1 blueberry lemon, 1 vanilla. So you can try all the flavors at the same time on bossabars.com. Okay, business aside, this is my very first time bringing, somebody that is near and dear to my heart. You probably guessed it. I'm going to grab her right now. Let's see. Mothers and daughters on our series, but if we're going to start this, I have to go straight to the source. Can you guess who I'm bringing up right now? My beautiful daughter.
Oh God.
Georgia. Okay, I'm going to try not to be that mom, but okay, I'm going to get myself. Hi, Georgie. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you doing?
Hey. Well, thanks for hopping out of your office. I have to brag, right? The new director of membership for the Colorado Cattlemen's Association. If you want to know how I raised a brown girl in this city who is now all livestock and cattle, we can have a different conversation, right? Or you can just reach out to Georgia.
Correct.
But
yes.
Thanks for hopping out for this conversation. Wow. Daughters, mothers, and menopause. How crazy is that? What do you think?
Yeah, it's not something that was ever on my radar until recently.
Yes. Okay, well, that's a perfect lead into my first question. So I can't remember, Georgie, since, I started this company, I think we started shipping in April of 2021, but I was obviously talking about it before we were shipping. Had we ever talked about menopause before I started Bossa Bars?
I was thinking about this actually last night. I don't think it was ever menopause. It was always just like Granny was having a hot flash and then you started having hot flashes and it was a joke, and that was pretty much all that it ever was. There was nothing further. I think menopause was kind of like I don't want to worry about that. We're not talking about it. We had 3 men in the house, and so it was like, why are we talking about that? We don't need to talk about it. So
we didn't even I didn't even say oh, I'm having a hot flash. It's menopause. We just talked about hot flashes.
Yeah, you just all of a sudden were like coming out of your sweatshirt in the living room. That was the extent of it.
Yeah. And did you think it was weird? What did you think about both? We call my mom Granny. So what did you think about Granny and I taking our clothes off because of hot flash? Were you concerned, or you just thought it was funny?
Honestly, it was just funny. It's just kind of something that it wasn't even associated. It was like, yeah, they're having a hot flash, There
Did you think it meant that we were old? Did that go together?
Yes and no. Actually, I do remember talking about it one time because I think Granny went into early menopause, right? That was the only, and so I don't know, it didn't even have the old connotation. I think that comes maybe more when you get closer to that age and you're like, oh man, it means I'm old. That was not on my radar.
Not at all. So should we have talked about it now that you know what it is, because you know what it is now?
Yes, I am very well versed. I don't know. I think I don't know. Yes and no. I think it would be helpful for people or for women my age with moms that are potentially going through it to maybe understand it a little bit better and maybe be a little nicer to our moms, especially if that time is hitting when also I started becoming a little psycho.
Yeah.
If they line up, I'm sure that could be disastrous. I don't think it happened for us, but I'm sure it definitely does happen and could happen. And so I think in that context, yes.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Could have talked about it. That's interesting you brought up the idea that when you have your period, you're on your cycle and your emotions are all over the place. We didn't sync up. You kind of calmed down more, or maybe actually, I don't know, by the time I started really experiencing menopause symptoms, you had moved, right? You were already in college.
I think that feel like, if I'm remembering right, that I kind of delayed it for you because I kept pulling it out of you.
Okay, that isn't a story we should tell. Do you want to go ahead? You tell it. What would happen?
Well, just every time, I don't know what the moon was doing or what, but every time I come home, I just happened to be on my period. And my poor mom was like, "Are you on your period? I haven't had one in 4 months, and here it goes." I would just pull it right out of her. And it would be for like a week, 10 days, maybe less. And it would just, every time.
It's so crazy how our cycles would sync up, kind of like when you were still living here, when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be, heading way into perimenopause and no period for 6 months. And then Georgia comes home from college and boom, what? I would just get it. And then I would just say to her, "Are you on your period?" "Yes." I'm like, dang it. It's a weird thing, like, don't come home for like a year. No, just kidding. Let's see what we have here. Sunny or Julie says, "I hate that you called yourself psycho." She felt bad about that. "I think menopause, we realize what we're willing to put up with and not. I think we're becoming our own woman." Yes, absolutely.
That's
Yes,
a good
not
way to put it.
psycho,
I
emotional.
have that connotation because I think I was talking to you that once you get to a certain age, you don't care anymore, right? That's just you're like, "I'm not putting up with it."
Yeah.
So
No,
I
yeah,
think that's very valid.
I love it. Should we have talked to your brothers about it? Should I have talked to your brothers about it? They're all well versed now in menopause
Yeah,
as well. And same thing with dad. I didn't really think about dad, but
yeah.
I think I was talking about dad because I was looking probably for some sympathy as I was going through that experience. But what do you think? Should we have talked to the boys about it?
I mean, yes and no. If they're willing in passing, I don't think it's a sit down conversation. "This is what I'm going through.
What?
Would you like to have the biological changes?" I think that would just create more of a blow up, that not even a blow up, but
In our house? I
yeah,
think they would have laughed. I would have had, I mean, I
correct.
actually think that's a great idea that you just brought up. I think it is worthy of a sit down. Like, here's the real deal. Mom's going through something. I'm okay, because it could freak out, maybe not Scott, but Blake could have probably been like, ah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What about with your family in the future? You don't have a family yet, but in the future, how do you think you will, now knowing what you know, do you think you'll talk to your daughter and or sons about it? And would it be different for daughters and sons?
Yeah, I think that I wouldn't, like, now knowing what I know and talking about it with you, there's no need to suffer through it in silence, or like even be confused about what's happening. Now, I think that there is a movement going on. I keep seeing Drew Barrymore talking about it. It's all over. And I don't know if it's just because I have an extra, filter of it now, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be very, very helpful to bring it up, just to tell people what you're going through so that there's, they can understand. It's just like any other emotion or any other thing you're going through, right? Like if you're sick or you have a stuffy nose, you're like, "Yeah, hey, I'm sick." And then people have a better understanding for you. It has nothing, there shouldn't be a stigma or it needs to be kept quiet kind of thing.
Right. Keep it in the background. I think it's interesting, though, that you did put it in context of being sick. Do you
I
see it as
know.
medical or a life stage? No, this is totally legit. And we should say you're 24, right? So
Right.
it's completely legitimate that you said that you put it in the context of a medical. But do you think it's medical? Do you see menopause as a medical experience or a life stage?
I don't know. I think I'm a scientist.
Right.
I have a
You're an
bachelor of
animal
science.
scientist. We can talk
Yeah.
about whether or not cows go through menopause. But anyways,
Yes.
sticking to
Yes.
us, go
Well,
ahead.
they don't usually make it that far, but we will not talk about that part. Um, but I would put it not necessarily in medical as in like illness or like something that needs to be, medically addressed. That I would put it, I think it would be addressed lifestyle wise, but I would put it in a biological phase category,
Ooh,
because hormones and your body, that's all biologics, that's all science. So I don't know.
yeah.
I think it kind of goes hand in hand. Like your metabolic things are changing, but also dynamics in your life are changing. So I think that they're not mutually exclusive.
You
That's my answer.
know, no one has ever said that it's a biological stage.
Well,
No
science.
one said that. Science. But doctors have, it's usually medical because it can be medical, right? Can be a medical component,
Yeah.
or we talk about life stage, but you just said biological stage, which maybe is that in between? I mean, you're the scientist, not me, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
there's
biological.
biology involved,
Correct.
obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the root of it, right? You
Yeah.
don't just decide. It's not a lifestyle change. You're not, choosing to go through menopause. It kind of just happens.
Thank
And
goodness.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to react to it lifestyle wise, but biology is what's the driving force and, the reason you experience everything you experience, whether it be good or bad.
Yeah. Really good insight. Tell me what you think about this question. Some women have a feeling when they no longer have a period that they are different, they're less than, they are out to pasture. Going back to the cow thing, sorry, we're talking about cows because Georgia's all about livestock, not that women are cows, so let's
Yes,
just
but
qualify that.
also, I mean, I am proudly a heifer. No babies, that's me. I'm a heifer. My mom, she's a cow. No offense. It's
You gotta
science.
know my daughter. When she was a young girl, you know how you'd see someone and you'd say, "Oh, she looks like my friend Kim," and George would say, "Oh, she looks like an Afghan." I'm like, don't call people animals. No, she's like, "That's how I see them, Mom."
Like a
So
frog.
just
What
putting
can I
this
say?
whole heifer cow thing in context for
Yes,
people.
thank
So I
you.
don't think, wow, that's an interesting girl. Okay, so Georgie, so thinking about this, what do you think? Obviously at 24, you're not thinking about not having your period. You want to have a period. You want to have children, all those good things. And so how do you think you might feel once you no longer have a period? Do you think you'll be different? What will you think about yourself?
Well, I think that I probably have a pretty skewed way of thinking about it because right now I'm still trying to age up. I'm not thinking about getting old. I want to be older. I'm trying to be 25 so I can rent a car, So there's a wasp outside my window. I'm going to roll the window up. Oh, goodness.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. There's a wasp.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I'm trying
The show
I'm
must
trying
go
to
on,
age up.
Georgia. Stay focused. You're
I know.
okay.
I just didn't want to come in the window. But I'm not worried about getting older at this point. I want to be older. And so right now, with my frame of reference, I would feel free, like women spend so much money on products and, not just tampons and pads, but like Midol or, everything around the experience of having a period. I would feel free. Obviously, I want one. I can't wait to have kids. That would be great. But yeah, I would say it's just one less thing I have to worry about. It seems like it would be a freeing thing after you get all of the hurdles, but that's also me. I don't have a gray hair on my head. I'm only 24, so it could be a naive way of thinking about it.
Hey, it's all valid. I love that you think it's freeing too. Some women are very sad about not having their period. Like for Granny, my mom, she loved having her period every month because it was a time when she would go into herself, have quiet time. It's sort of a self-care time. She would drink tea because she had a very uncomfortable period, and she had a hysterectomy. So and again,
I did not know that.
What, that she had a hysterectomy?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's why she went into early menopause. It was surgical.
Oh,
Which
did not get the
this is why young women can go into menopause. You can do it just because your body does, but it's more not that likely. But it's more because of surgical menopause or medical reason.
I do have two friends with PCOS, so that makes sense. That's a possibility
PCOS.
for both of them. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, we have never talked about that. You have friends with PCOS.
Yeah.
Similar symptoms often to menopause.
And I have a friend with endometriosis. It's
I'm
way
glad.
common. Sydney, she has endometriosis.
Yeah.
I'm
so glad that young women are talking about these things with each other because especially as our young women and young men move out of the home for college or living other places, living their lives, we're not in proximity for all these conversations. We may not have had all these conversations. You went to college, you were barely, you weren't even 18 yet, so 17 3/4, right? So so maybe we missed some of those conversations. So I'm glad that you and your friends are talking about such all of the things. And so make sure, Georgie, do you talk about menopause with your friends?
Well, yeah, actually, we were talking about it. Well, now I talk about it a lot because people, make comments about your stuff that pops up on their feed, because everybody is a number one supporter. But
Glad they all
yeah,
follow. Good girls.
yeah,
Yeah.
but everybody they all have stories about their mom. It's not usually, about them, but it's like, yeah, my mom, she would love that bar. She could really use that. Or I've been talking to her about it, and she's been dieting in a really unhealthy way, and she's
Mm.
just, it's like the lifestyle thing. It comes up in so many different pieces of your life.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. They talk about dieting in an unhealthy way. I want to lean into that. In
Mm-hmm.
in what ways? What are they telling you? Are they giving
Well,
you examples?
we were talking about this, yeah, on Friday. My coworker Sarah, she's 30, and her mom, I think, is probably around 60,
Mm.
and she and one of our board members, what is trying to lose weight, and she's just pretty much not eating, and that's what people think the best way to lose weight is. I'll have one meal a day, or I'll have a apple for breakfast and some nuts for lunch, and then I'll have the dinner. But that obviously is not sustainable. And it was just kind of the way I think that, unfortunately, your generation of women was kind of raised, that, skinny is better, less food equals skinny, which
Right.
is so unhealthy. And, thank God diet pills were not a thing when I was a kid, or even high school or college. That scares the crap out of me. I
Yeah.
cannot imagine. And now it's kind of coming back, but
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you have that awareness, Georgia, especially that not eating food, because we know that gaining weight in the stages of menopause is one of the top three things that women are really upset about, right? Complain about hot flashes, can't sleep, and menopause middle, which is why I created Bossa Bars, because I was struggling with that thing, gaining 10 pounds. I see you're spinning there on your camera, so hopefully you come back. I'll keep talking. But so with that, oops, there she went. She'll come back. So with my experience of gaining weight and creating Bossa Bars around that, women do have such an unhealthy reference from those of us that grew up in the 80s about just starve yourself. There's fasting, intentional fasting, intermittent fasting, time eating windows, things like that. But just to not eat food at all, because if you don't have any calories. Now, generally a calorie deficit is important, but not if we're trying to gain muscle. And we know muscle is what is so important. That's what gets our metabolism going. And it's like that boost that, keeps us strong, helps manage, because it takes a lot of muscle, a lot of energy for our bodies to process protein and muscle and all those good things. Wellness by Colette says, yes, fat-free everything in the 80s. Exactly. Remember that? Fat-free everything. Fat is our friend. That's why we use healthy fats like almond butter, etc., and MCT oil in the bars. But yes, we need fats. We love avocado too. We love fiber. Let me see if I can grab Georgia again. Here she is. Hi, Nishi. How are you? We just lost Georgie. We were having a good conversation here. I'm going to see if I can grab her back. Post any questions in the chat for anything that you would like me to ask Georgia, my daughter. And let me know, would you bring your daughter onto the Meadow Lounge? What do you think about that? She actually came willingly. Well, a little bit like, really, Mom? I'm like, yep, let's do it. She said, okay. We're going to have Dr. Haver of the Galveston Diet on also, with her daughter coming up, and other special guests. So it's going to be really fun to catch these women.
I'm
Oh, there she
so
is.
sorry. My phone got too hot. It shut down.
Oh,
It's 85 degrees here
oh,
today. I'm
oh
so
my gosh.
sorry.
No worry,
I had to
Georgia.
move it into the shade.
Okay,
That's better.
this happens on the Meadow Lounge
I know.
because
I'm so sorry.
don't worry, it's live. It's beautiful. So I'm so
Yeah,
glad you're here.
I know. I
And we
was
should
like
tell
pouring
people,
water on it.
oh,
I got it cooled down. Oh my gosh.
oh, we didn't think about that. You're in Colorado on your lunch break.
Well,
So
the sun is, yeah,
Georgie,
we're 5,000 feet.
no, there's that too. Can I ask you, what are you glad that you know about menopause through all the cheer chatter that we've had?
Well, I think the most thing is that, I mean, obviously it's common because there's lots of women in the world, but it's so relatable, to know that it happens to everybody, and everybody has similar symptoms. Some people get it, some people go through it earlier, some people go through it later, but it's kind of a unifying factor in a lot of ways. You know, it's like going gray. I was talking to the lady at the gas station across the street, had the most beautiful gray hair I've ever seen, besides yours. Yours is beautiful also, Mom.
Okay.
But I was like, oh, should I say something? I don't know. But then I was thinking about how difficult it was for you to go gray and decide, you know, to come in and whatever stigma goes along with it. So I was like, I'm going to say something. So I told her it was beautiful, and because it was beautiful. And she was like, thank you so much. It was so hard to decide. And I was like, I know. Just yet another unifying factor. You know, I think it's just goes in the same category as stuff like that. You know, like getting older is not something you do alone. Everybody does it. Calm down. It's not a big deal.
I love that. You're such my girl. Everybody does it. It's like the book I read you when you guys were kids. Everybody poops. Everybody gets older. Like, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, that's so good. And I love that you share that amongst your friends. You know, I call it, you know, I've been talking lately about the +1, the ripple effect of menopause. If every day, especially if you're eating a bar, you know, make sure that you are talking to at least one woman about menopause, or a guy, or your boss, or your son, or whoever. A +1 conversation about menopause. So I love that. Okay, is there anything you wish you didn't know?
Honestly, that whole lubricant live that happened I did not need to be part of that. I understand its place, but no thanks. I'm good. It's still my mom.
That's so funny. So, you know, on the Meadow Lounge, those of you who are regular viewers, you know, we talk about all different products, and I love to share different things that women founders have created. Hey, Nina. And so Georgia just happened to watch one that was about lubricant, and she's like, Mom, really? Do you need to do that? I'm like,
yeah, I was like, oh,
part of the deal, part of the deal. You got to protect the bees, part of the deal. So,
hey, yo, I agree. Yep, good for you, but also not on my Instagram feed.
That's one conversation you're going to be glad, because I didn't have it with you earlier, because no one had it with me. And so I had to talk to my own girlfriends about it. So you
actually,
know, right?
To be fair, Granny talked to me about it a little bit, because I don't, you know, Granny, she does not care. She is not afraid of any conversation.
Does not hold back at all.
Yes, no. And I don't remember. This was a long time ago. I was probably like earlier than 18, like between probably 14 and 17. I don't remember, but I don't even remember the comment, but it was brought up about something being dry, and I'm sure I shut the conversation down immediately. But yes, I had an inkling, but I chose to ignore it.
I love it. And you know, if it upsets you that your mom's talking about lubricant and then your grandmother's talking to you about lubricant, that's just like double bad.
It's like, I am full. I've reached my limit. I'm disengaging.
Yeah. But you know what? The good news is you've had it, and I always tell you, I want to tell you things that I didn't know. So if I learned about it in my 50s and you're in your 20s, you got a 25 to 30 year jump in advantage knowing these things. So do you think you'll have these same conversations then with your daughter about lubricant and all these other things?
Well, yeah, because at that point I won't care. I'm going to be like, I don't care if you're embarrassed. I'm telling you, my mom told me.
Right.
You know, I promise I'm soaking it all up. Whether or not I'm resistant is just dependent on the day, but I'm soaking it up, I promise.
I love it. I love so much. You're my best
I
daughter,
coach all
Georgia.
my friends.
What's that?
I coach all of my friends, just like you coach me. I'm like, I know my mom says this, and I'm not telling her I'm repeating it, but I'm going to repeat it to you because it's good advice.
I love you. Such a good daughter.
Thank you.
Georgie, I got a couple questions for you, and then I know you got to get back to work. Yeah. So one, what advice would you give mothers about talking to their daughters about menopause?
Well, honestly, this is kind of universal advice, but read the room, pick the right time. You know, it's not something that needs to happen right now. You know me, I'm kind of stubborn. So, you know, if it's not the right time, I don't want to talk about this. So just be patient. You have, you know, all the time in the world to explain it, but also it's important, you know, like start young. It's just like eating healthy, you know, you don't shame your kids by trying to put them on a diet when they're 13, but by introducing healthy foods from the beginning, you can get ahead of it. So just, I don't know, being honest, open, and not too aggressive, but, you know, just read the room.
You
Exactly.
see? Wellness by Colette. Read the room. All clap, smile, high
Yeah, I've
five
had to
on
learn
that.
that in my just real life because I like to say what comes to my mind, and I've had to learn in a professional environment, got to read the room.
That is like the hashtag of the day. Hashtag
Yeah.
read the room.
Yeah.
Huge. That's your dropping nuggets, gold nuggets there, Georgia. Okay, so as we wrap up, I know you watch the Mena Lounge. So my favorite question is, what does menopause like a boss mean to you?
Uh, I, I just feel like it's acknowledging what's happening, but not letting it stop you whatsoever. So what, you're having a hot flash and you're at a baseball game in the sun, take your jacket off, or get up, walk around. It's not going to stop you. I know so many women that I probably wouldn't have even known were going through menopause at the time because they're such badasses. I'm just thinking about all your friends. Like, I don't see them sitting at home contemplating, weight gain or swings or lubricant or whatever. It's just like not letting it stop you. I don't know, that feels like the most important thing to menopause like a boss is just keep going. It happens to everybody, right? We've already been there, we talked about it. It happens to everybody. Get over it. Nothing's ever that important.
Look at my daughter. I'm feeling coached by my daughter right now. Is anyone else feeling coached by a 24-year-old? I love it. Georgia, I am so honored to be your mom. You are a badass. You are out in the world, paving your own way, doing things so differently than I would do them. I love it so much. I am so impressed by you. And, to be honest, it takes a minute of courage to come on live Instagram to talk about menopause with your mom.
Yes,
So,
yes, it does.
well, thank you for being here. I love you
Yeah.
so much. And do you eat Bossa Bars?
Yes. I think I have one left. I'm getting low. We're gonna need to send me some.
I think I know the founder. I could probably get you some.
Yeah. Could you put in a good word for me?
I will. Colette, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Sunnier, for being here. I'm glad you guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're inspired to talk to your daughter or your niece or your little sister or your next door neighbor about menopause as we bring on our daughters for this special series, Menopause Conversations, Mothers and Daughters from period to pause, right? Thanks so much. All right, Georgie, I love you. Back to work, sister.
Okay, great. I'll eat some lunch, then I'll go back.
There you go. Eat some lunch. Everybody, be well. Thanks for joining us on the Mena Lounge. See you very, very soon.
Bye,
Take
Mom.
care. Bye. Bye.